The mind is nothing but desire. M is staking the false for the true and the true for the false. You neglect your heart and fill yourself with desire. Seeing the false as false and the true as true, look into your heart. Follow your own nature. A mind that does not reflect is like a dilapidated roof. Passion, like rain, can flood a house, but if the roof is strong, it offers shelter. Anyone who follows impure thoughts suffers in this world and the next. In both realms, such a person endures pain, and how immense that pain is when they confront the wrongs they have done. Yet anyone who abides by the law finds joy here and joy there. In both worlds they rejoice, and how grand it is when they see the goodness they have performed. The harvest in this life is abundant, and it is even greater in the next. The Dhammapada, the Buddha. Truth exists. It does not require your effort to invent it. Truth must be discovered, not contrived. And what prevents us from uncovering it? We have been taught so many falsehoods, a veritable mountain of deception. This barrier perpetually distorts truth, denying our hearts the ability to reflect what is. Truth is not a logical conclusion. Truth is existence, reality. It has always been here. It is always here. Only truth exists. So why can't we find it? How is it that we fail to recognize it? Because from our very childhood we are taught lies, prejudices, ideologies, religions, philosophies, all of which lead you astray. Truth is not an idea. You need not be Hindu, Muslim, or Christian to know it. In fact, if you are Hindu, you may never know it. Being Hindu can blind you. What do we imply when we say, I am Hindu, or I am Muslim, or I am Jewish? We imply, I have an idea of truth, an idea drawn from the Bible, the Quran, or the Gita. I don't truly know truth. I just know many things about it. And that so-called knowledge is the very problem that must be resolved. Once you discard your ideas about truth, you will confront it, both within and without. You will face it head-on, because there is nothing else. Yet parents, society, the nation, the church, and the educational system are all steeped in falsehood. From the moment a child is born, they are ensnared by deception. The helpless child, utterly dependent on its parents, cannot escape. Its dependency is exploited, and it has been exploited through the ages. No one has been exploited more profoundly than a child. Not the proletariat, not women. No one has suffered exploitation as deeply and destructively as this innocent child. Because they are helpless and dependent, they must learn whatever you impose upon them. They absorb every falsehood you cram into their minds. This is a matter of survival for them. They cannot survive without it. It is a matter of life and death. They must become Hindu or Muslim or Jain or Buddhist or even communist. Whatever you choose to instill in their minds, you force upon them. Instead of making them more alert, aware, lively, and responsive, rather than reflecting purity, you fill them with ideas, layering one dusty notion atop another. And in doing so, they lose sight of what truly is. They begin to see only the absence of what is and cease to perceive what is. Thus, true religion means rebirth. Once again, becoming like a child by discarding everything that society has imposed upon you. Religion is a rebellion against all that has been forced upon you, a revolt against being reduced to a mere machine. Look inside yourself. Whatever you think you know has been handed down to you. It is not truly your own knowledge. It is not genuine. How can it be genuine if it isn't yours? You are not a witness to it. You are merely a victim of circumstance. It is purely a matter of chance whether you are born in India or in England. It is entirely accidental to be born into a Hindu family or a Christian one. Because of these random circumstances, your innate, refined nature is lost. You are compelled to forfeit it. If you wish to reclaim it, you must be reborn. This is precisely what Jesus meant when he said to Nicodemus, "Unless you are born again, you cannot enter the kingdom of God." He did not imply that you must literally die, commit suicide, and then be reborn. That would serve no purpose, for then you would be reborn into some family, some society, inside some church, forever subjected to the same foolishness. Jesus implied that rebirth is deliberate, conscious, that you now have the capacity to cast aside everything once taught to you, to discard your accumulated knowledge and return to innocence. And that is the only way to become truly innocent. Knowledge is what defiles. In the state of not knowing, of pure innocence, and operating from that state is the only path to knowing truth. Meditate upon these profoundly meaningful words of Gautama Buddha. He said, "Mistake the false for the true, and the true for the false, neglect your heart, and fill yourself with desire. The mind is nothing but desire. The heart does not know desire." You might be surprised to learn that all desire belongs to the head. The heart lives in the present. It beats vibrantly here and now. It knows nothing of the past and nothing of the future. It is always here, in this very moment. I am not speaking of some abstract philosophy, but stating a simple fact for you to observe within yourself. Your heart is beating right now. It cannot beat in the past or in the future. The heart knows only the present and thus remains entirely pure. It is untainted by past memories, by accumulated knowledge, by experiences, or by all that you have been told and taught through scriptures and traditions. It knows nothing of those meaningless things, and it knows nothing of the future, of tomorrow. For the heart, the past no longer exists and the future has not yet arrived. It is solely here, in the immediate now. But the mind is the very opposite of the heart. The mind is never here in the present. It either dwells on the beautiful experiences of the past or longs for those same experiences in the future. It flits back and forth like a spinning top between the past and the future, never pausing in the present. It is completely oblivious to the now. To the mind, the present does not exist. Notice this. The present is the only thing that truly exists, yet for the mind, the present is the one thing that is deemed non-existent. The past and the future do not exist for the mind. They are mere concepts. The head is the problem, and the heart is the solution. A child functions from the heart. As you grow older, you begin to shift from living by the heart to living by the head. By the time you graduate from college, you have completely forgotten your heart. You become trapped in your head. Your entire energy shifts upward. Now, you know nothing of true reality. You are filled with academic junk, the meaningless drivel of scholarship. You might hold a doctorate, perhaps in literature. You know much, yet you truly know nothing, because genuine knowing happens in the heart, not in the head. Universities exist to divert your energy from the heart to the head. Every university in the world has, thus far, been an enemy of humanity. Their entire operation is designed to serve the state and the church. They are agents of the status quo, serving vested interests. They do not serve you. They serve power, masters, oppressors, and exploiters. Anyone who happens to enter the sphere of power finds that universities serve that realm. They do not serve humanity. If they truly served humanity, then universities would be places where education sparks rebellion. They would ignite revolutions rather than produce conformists or obedient followers. They would cultivate nonconformists, rebels, adventurers willing to risk their lives for truth. That, however, remains unrealized. The sad reality is that, in the name of education, something foul and deeply corrupt continues. Behind that facade, a grave injustice persists. They divert your energy from the heart to the head, they destroy your capacity for love, and they force you to learn logic. For them, logic is valued more than love. Thinking is prized above sensitivity. It is like placing the cow behind the cart. It is completely inverted. This is why humanity is in such disarray. The unreal seems real, and the real appears unreal. They have succeeded in distorting your vision. The Buddhas are fighting against all these vested interests. The Buddha said, "Mistake the false for the true and the true for the false. Neglect your heart and fill yourself with desire." Indeed, the mind is desire, and you continuously inundate yourself with ever-increasing desire, ambition, and a craving for power, fame, and wealth. In doing so, you completely forget that there is a heart beating inside you, a heart that lives within the divine, that is part of the supreme law, dhammo sanantano, of the inexhaustible eternal law. You are connected from your heart to the divine. Your heart is the root planted in the soil of the divine. Yet, even though your heart is still nourished by the divine and by truth, you are not there. You have abandoned that space and live in your head. Day after day, you remain confined in your head, never descending to where true life resides. Even at night, when you sleep, your head remains noisy. Thoughts upon dreams, dreams upon thoughts. By day, there is thinking. By night, there is dreaming. They are no different. Dreaming is merely the translation of thought into the language of sleep, and vice versa. Thought is nothing more than dreams translated into waking language. You oscillate between the two, dreaming and thinking. Both are manifestations of desire. What else do you think about except desire? And what do you dream of except desire? The Buddha teaches that the false appears true because you have become estranged from your own true self, from your own heart. Return to your heart, and then you will have the capacity to discern what is truly real and what is false. That is enlightenment. That is coming home. See the false as false. But where does one begin? Begin by recognizing that the false is false. That is why all the Buddhas seem to negate. That is why they appear destructive. They negate. Jesus negates. He would repeat, "This was told to you in the past, but I say to you," and then completely transform one's perspective. For example, he said that in the past you were told that certain things are law. If someone throws a brick at you, respond by throwing a stone. But I say, if someone slaps you on one cheek, offer the other cheek to them. And if someone takes your coat, give them even your shirt. And if someone forces you to walk 1 mile with them, walk 2 miles. Muhammad opposed every image of the divine because people had worshipped for centuries. They had 360-something gods, one for each day of the year. In Muhammad's time, the Kaaba was one of the grandest temples on earth, dedicated solely to those deities. Muhammad destroyed all these idols. This may seem like negation. The Buddha said, "There is no truth in the Vedas and the Upanishads. Be cautious with these beautiful words and wary of such philosophical speculations. Do not waste your time splitting hairs with logic. Be silent. Cast the Vedas from your mind, and only then can you attain silence." He may seem to be negating. He may appear nihilistic or even dangerous, but this is the only way you can be helped. You must be shown that the false is false. You must begin with this, neti, not this, not that. Your teacher must tell you, this is false, that is false. The teacher must point out everything that is false first. For when you come to recognize all the false, a transformation suddenly occurs in your mind. Once you become aware of the false, you begin to discern the true. You cannot be taught what truth is, but you can certainly be taught what is not truth. You have been conditioned. You can be deconditioned. You have been hypnotized. whether as a Hindu, a Muslim, a Christian, or a Jain. The teacher's role is to de-hypnotize you. Once that is done, you will suddenly have the capacity to see truth. Truth does not need to be taught. See the false as false, the true as true. Look into your heart. Follow your own nature. One of the most meaningful statements ever. Look into your heart. Follow your own nature. He does not speak according to scriptures, nor does he speak according to conventional norms or any prescribed moral code. He does not teach you any set of ethics, nor does he try to shape a particular personality around you, since every personality is a beautiful prison. Instead, he gives you courage and encouragement to follow your own nature. He wants you to be brave enough to listen to your heart and act accordingly. Follow your own nature means to flow with your true self. You are the living scripture, and deep within you there is a small, quiet voice. If you become silent, you will be guided from that inner place. The teacher's job is simply to help you recognize the teacher within yourself. Then his work is done. He can leave you with yourself. A true teacher does not make a disciple his slave. He liberates you, granting you complete freedom. And that is the only way to attain total liberation, by following your own nature. Here, nature, as the Buddha implies the law itself. Just as water's nature is to flow and fire's nature is to rise, there is an inherent nature within you. When you discard all the conditioning imposed by society, you suddenly discover your true nature. Your nature becomes divine. AE's dhammo sanantano. This is the eternal, inexhaustible law. Your nature is to become divine. Man is a potential God, a bodhisattva. Man is meant to become God. Anything less will not satisfy you. It is of no use. You may possess all the money in the world, all the power, and all possible fame, yet still feel empty. As long as your sacred nature has not blossomed, as long as your bud has not opened, as long as you have not become the thousand-petaled lotus, as long as your sacred essence has not revealed itself to you, you will never be fulfilled. Ordinary religious teachings urge you to be content with your circumstances. So-called religious saints preach, "Be content." Contentment is one of their foundational doctrines, but that is not the approach of the true teacher. The true teacher instills a deep, sacred discontent within you, so intense that nothing in this world can satisfy it. He creates in you a yearning, a burning desire that, until you achieve the ultimate, leaves you aflame. He brings pain into your heart. He creates mental anguish, because life slips away with every passing moment, and each moment lost is lost forever, and you have not reached the divine, and yet another day passes. He instills in you such profound longing and heartache, such deep sorrow that tears fill your eyes, because it is only through this sacred discontent that you are motivated to take that quantum leap, the ultimate leap into the unknown. It is only through this sacred discontent that you will gather all your energy, take risks, and embark on the supreme adventure to discover who you truly are. Follow your own nature. Your nature is consciousness. Yet you have been told by priests and clerics to follow certain moral rules, the 10 Commandments, or other prescribed principles, none of which are your true nature. The clerics fear your true nature because if you follow it, you will break free of their grasp. You will no longer be their slave. You will no longer attend churches, temples, or monasteries, nor will you listen to foolish clerics, politicians, or so-called leaders. I call them so-called leaders because the reality is that the blind are leading the blind. If you listen to your own nature, you will no longer heed their words. If you attune yourself to the voice within, you will be free. That inner voice must be crushed, must be destroyed, obliterated, even if distorted beyond recognition. And they have succeeded in silencing it. Until you struggle relentlessly against them, no victory is possible. Their exploitation, their age-old oppression, their cunning strategies. They wield infinite power. And what are you as an individual to oppose them? But if you dive inward, if you listen to your heart, you will achieve a strength that no earthly power can ever enslave you with again. Follow your own nature. But how can you follow your own nature if you do not even know what it is? And you are not allowed to know it. You are handed precise orders about what to do, what to eat, when to wake in the morning, when to go to sleep. These orders, if followed, make you a slave. If you disobey, they brand you a sinner. If you obey, you become a saint, but still a slave. People will worship and respect you, yet that respect is tacitly conditional. If you follow our orders, we will honor you. If not, you'll be thrown into prison. Either you become a spiritual slave or a physical prisoner. These are the two social options imposed upon you. And this system never lets you realize that there is an infinite source of guidance within you from which the divine speaks. The divine keeps speaking, never stopping. He does not favor Muhammad or Moses exclusively, nor does he speak solely to you. He speaks to you as much as he spoke to Muhammad. The only difference is that Muhammad was ready to listen, whereas you are not. Muhammad was receptive, you are not. Becoming receptive to your inner nature is what I call meditation. Remember these two words. Character is a fabrication of politicians and clerics, a conspiracy against you. Your true self is your consciousness. Yes, people develop personalities that arise from their consciousness, but that personality is your own. It isn't imposed by others. It is your personal choice, and you are not imprisoned by it. You are entirely free to change it at any moment. When circumstances change, your consciousness provides new directions, and you adjust your personality accordingly. A person fixed in a certain character, the so-called person of character, is imprisoned. Even as circumstances change, that person clings to the same personality, even though it no longer fits or makes sense. The context that gave it meaning has vanished, yet the person continues to repeat the same meaningless patterns. Such a person is like a parrot, like a machine, not truly responding but merely reacting. A person with true consciousness responds spontaneously. They become like a mirror, reflecting whatever comes before them. And from this spontaneity, from this genuine consciousness, a new kind of action is born, one that never creates bondage or karmic residue. Such action liberates you. You remain free if you listen to your own true nature. Yet, this simple advice seems extremely difficult for most. It should be the simplest thing in the world. Every child is born following its nature, but as you grow up, gradually you lose touch with it. You are forced to lose contact with it. That connection, however, can be reclaimed, rediscovered. Later, when you become very wise yet imprisoned by a fixed personality, completely blind to your own heart and true nature, you begin to ask questions like these. Just the other day, Prem Vijan asked, "Dear teacher, what do you mean when you say, 'go within'? Such a simple phrase, 'go within.' And you ask, what do you mean? You understand these simple words, don't you? But 'go within' has become so difficult because you have been taught only the way of going out. You only know how to go out. Your consciousness has turned outward. It has forgotten the path inward. You keep knocking on others' doors, and whenever someone tells you, 'Go home,' you ask, 'What do you mean by home?' You only know the homes of others, but you do not know your own home, even though you carry it within yourself. You have been forced into extroversion. One must relearn how to turn inward. Soren Kierkegaard once said that religion means turning inward, entering your inner self. Yet the simple command, 'go within,' has become so misunderstood. The mind only knows how to go out. It lacks a reverse gear. I once heard that when Ford built his first automobiles, they had no reverse gear. That gear was added later. Without a reverse gear, the problem is real. Whenever you want to back up, you must travel many unnecessary miles. You must take a long detour. Even if you wish to move back a few meters, you might have to journey miles. Then Ford realized the need for a reverse gear. I'm teaching you here that the reverse gear already exists. It's right there. You've simply forgotten about it. You know how to go out. No one ever asks, what does it mean when you say, go out? Yet everyone wants to ask, what do you mean by go within? Such simple words. Thinking is going out, not thinking is going in. When you think, you begin to drift away from yourself. Thought is a vehicle that carries you far away, a projection. Without thought, suddenly you are inside. Without thought, you cannot go out. Without desire, you cannot go out. You need the fuel of desire and the vehicle of thought to journey outward. Sit in silence. Do nothing, not even think, not even desire. And where will you be? Going within is not so much about entering something as it is about ceasing to go out. And suddenly, you find yourself within. Prem Vijan, you must not go within in the sense of trying to force an inward journey, because if you do, it always ends up being a journey outward. To go means to go out. Stop going. Stop going anywhere. Can you not sit in silence without moving? Yes, physically you can sit. That is simple. You might learn yoga and make your body almost statue-like, but the real issue is, what are you doing inside? Desire, thoughts, memories, imaginations, every kind of project. Stop them. How do you stop them? Simply become indifferent to them. Do not care. Even if they are there, do not focus on them. Even if they are there, do not give them importance. Let them be. Sit in silent inner stillness. Observe. Remember the word observe, witness. Just be aware. And as your observation deepens, as you absorb all that energy, desire, thought, memory, imagination into a new depth, you begin to use that energy to go deep within. And then you will understand what I mean by go within. Do not begin to consult dictionaries or the Encyclopedia Britannica. This is not a matter of words. The words are simple to understand. When I say go within, that is exactly what I mean. Go within. Do not start questioning the words. Listen to the hidden message. Otherwise, you will miss the point. And by miss the point, I mean that you will completely lose your way. Let me tell you a story. A plain-spoken farmer's wife arrives at Paddington Station to catch her train. With some spare time before the train arrives, she decides to check her weight on a nearby weighing machine. She climbs on, inserts a coin, and the machine spits out a card that reads, "You weigh 150 pounds and in 5 minutes you will fart." Blushing, embarrassed, and feeling a bit insulted, she quickly steps off and hurries away. 5 minutes later, much to her astonishment, she lets out a long, loud fart. Ashamed yet curious, she returns to the machine to see what it will say this time. She inserts another coin, and out pops a card. "You still weigh 150 pounds and in 5 minutes you will be raped." Outraged, she jumps off the machine and resolutely walks away. Later, during a rare morning break, a newspaper vendor notices this clumsy country girl and, thinking it might be amusing, seizes her before she even realizes what's happening, dragging her behind his stand and raping her. A few minutes after this horrific ordeal, still in shock with her hat askew and her worn-out heels broken, she stumbles back to the machine and, hesitantly inserting a coin, receives yet another card. "You still weigh 150 pounds, and with all that farting and bullshit, you'll miss your train." If you become too preoccupied with words, asking, what does go within mean? What does it mean in words, in language? Vijan, you're about to miss your train. Don't waste your time on words. This, my friend, is the peculiar affliction that many intellectuals suffer from today. For at least 50 years, the philosophical world has been overly obsessed with words and language analysis. They no longer ask, "What is God?" or whether God exists. Modern philosophers now ask, "When you use the word God, what does it mean?" That isn't a question about God's existence, or about what God is, or even how to attain God. It's a very new turn of questioning. What does God mean when you say it? What do you imply when you use the word rose? That's easy. You could hold a philosopher captive, drag him into a garden, and show him a rose saying, "This is what I mean by rose." But you can't do that with the word God, nor with the words meditation or go within. These are subtle phenomena. Don't get caught up in words. I'm not here to teach you to analyze language. My whole approach is one of existence. If you truly want to know what go within means, then just go within. The method is this: observe your thoughts without identifying with them. Remain the observer, completely indifferent, neither for nor against. Don't judge, for every judgment brings identification. Don't say, "These thoughts are wrong," or "These thoughts are good." Don't comment on them. Let them pass by like traffic while you stand on the sidelines, detached, merely observing. What passes by doesn't matter. Buses, trucks, bicycles. If you can watch the flow of your mind's thoughts with detachment, with separation, soon enough all that traffic will vanish, because traffic only exists when you keep feeding it energy. If you stop feeding it energy, that's exactly what you need to observe. Stop channeling energy into it. Your energy propels your thoughts. When your energy ceases to fuel them, they begin to drop away. They cannot sustain themselves on their own. And when the highway of your mind becomes completely empty, you are within. That's what I mean, Vigen, when I say, go within. And it is also what the Buddha implies when he says, follow your own nature. A mind that fails to reflect is like a shabby roof. Passion, like rain, floods the house. But if the roof is strong, if there is shelter, then all is well. When the Buddha speaks of a non-reflective mind, he does not mean reflection, as in incessant thinking or preoccupation. Rather, by reflection, he simply means the act of reflecting, as a mirror does. When you stand before a mirror, the mirror does not think about you. It merely reflects. That pure act of reflection is what the Buddha implies. A mind that has forgotten how to reflect, has lost the art of simply mirroring reality, is like that dilapidated roof. We have forgotten how to reflect. We know how to think, yet we have lost the ability to simply reflect. Consider a child. When a newborn first opens its eyes, it sees a tree, but it cannot tell itself, "This is a tree." It sees light, yet it cannot internally say, "This is electric light." It beholds the red of a rose, yet it does not internally label it, "This is a rose and its color is red." It sees everything, but it does not speak of it internally. That is true reflection. It simply reflects. The trees remain green. Indeed, they seem even more vibrantly green, because the mirror is utterly pure, clear as crystal. A mirror carries no dust, whereas thoughts gather like dust. When you stroll in a garden and say, "The roses are beautiful," you might not even truly see the rose. You may merely be parroting a familiar phrase because you've been told that roses are beautiful. You might casually remark on the beauty of a sunset without truly noticing it, without paying attention, without genuine awareness. Yet automatically, without conscious intent, you simply affirm, "The sunset is beautiful." You do not mean it from your heart. You repeat what you have been taught. You echo someone else's words, perhaps your mother's, your father's, your teacher's, or a friend's. If you observe deeply, you might even discern whose voice was heard the very first time someone said the sunset was beautiful, and you mindlessly repeat it. In doing so, you have not truly seen the sunset. You have not experienced its immediate, transient beauty. The Buddha said, "A mind that does not reflect is like a shabby roof. Passion, like rain, floods the house." A mind that has forgotten how to reflect truth is forever a victim of desire, enslaved by the head, captive to the future, tormented by endless cravings for this and that. And no desire can ever be fully satisfied. The moment one desire is quenched, it gives rise to 10 more. This cycle continues endlessly, and life is brief, and death may knock at your door at any moment. You come into this world seeking fulfillment, yet you leave empty-handed, unsatisfied. Thus, unless you learn your lesson, you will be cast back again, sent once more into some mother's womb, forced to be reborn. You will be returned to the school of life again and again, and if you do not pay attention, you will miss your train in this life. Be cautious. Begin by cleansing your inner mirror so that you can truly reflect. Passion, like rain, floods the house. But if the roof is strong and provides shelter, if you know how to reflect reality and build that shelter, you are safe, for you dwell within the divine, for you are part of truth. Anyone who follows impure thoughts suffers in this world and the next. In both realms, that person experiences suffering. Oh, how profound it is when one sees the wrongs they have committed. When the Buddha speaks of a non-reflective mind, he does not mean that reflection involves excessive thinking or preoccupation. Rather, by reflection, he simply means the act of reflecting as a mirror does. When you stand before a mirror, it does not think about you, it simply reflects. That pure act of mirroring is what the Buddha intends. A mind that has forgotten how to mirror reality is like a shabby roof. We have forgotten how to reflect. We know how to think, yet we have lost the ability to simply mirror. Consider a child. When a newborn first opens its eyes, it sees a tree, yet it cannot internally say, "This is a tree." It perceives light, but it cannot think, "This is light," nor can it recognize the red of a rose by saying, "This is a rose and its color is red." It sees everything, yet it does not utter a single word within. That is true reflection. It simply reflects. The trees remain green, even more so because the mirror is utterly pure, clear as crystal. The mirror carries no dust, whereas thoughts accumulate like dust. When you walk into a garden and say, "The roses are beautiful," you might not truly see the roses at all. You may simply recite a familiar phrase because you've been told that roses are beautiful. When you admire a sunset, you might not actually notice it, fail to pay attention, or truly perceive it. Yet, almost automatically you affirm, "The sunset is beautiful." You do not mean it from genuine experience. You are merely echoing what you've been told, perhaps by your mother, your father, your teacher, or your friends. If you observe deeply, you might even discern the original voice that first proclaimed the beauty of a sunset, and all you do is mindlessly repeat it. In doing so, you have not truly seen the sunset. You have not experienced its immediate, ineffable beauty. The Buddha said, "A non-reflective mind is like a shabby roof. Passion, like rain, floods the house." A mind that has forgotten how to mirror truth is forever a victim of desire, enslaved by the head, caught up in the future, and tormented by endless cravings for this and that. And no desire can ever be fully satisfied. The moment one desire is quenched, it gives rise to 10 more, and this cycle continues endlessly. Life is short, and death can knock at your door at any moment. You enter this world seeking fulfillment, yet you leave empty-handed, unsatisfied. Until you learn your lesson, you will be sent back again, reborn into some other mother's womb, forced to return to the school of life over and over. If you do not pay attention, you will miss your train in this life. Be cautious. Start by cleansing your inner mirror so that you can reflect truthfully. Passion, like rain, may flood your house, but if your roof is strong and offers shelter, if you learn how to mirror reality and create that shelter, you are safe, for you dwell within the divine, for you are a part of truth. Anyone who follows impure thoughts suffers in this world and the next. Every thought is impure. Thoughts cannot be pure. Therefore, let me remind you once more, whenever the Buddha speaks of impure thoughts, he means all thoughts. He uses the term impure to emphasize that if he simply said thoughts, you might not grasp the point. So when he says impure thoughts, he always implies that thoughts are inherently impure, because to think is to fixate on something, from which desire inevitably arises. And whenever he speaks of pure thoughts, he really means a state of no thought. Only a state of no thought is pure, because then you are entirely yourself, alone, unencumbered by any interference. Jean-Paul Sartre once said, "Hell is other people." And in a way, he was right, because whenever you think of another person, you create your own hell. Every thought refers to someone else. When you are in a state of no thought, when you are alone and that aloneness is pure, then all that is truly possible unfolds. But anyone who adheres to the law finds joy here and joy there. In both realms, that person rejoices, and how magnificent it is when they see the good they have done. On the other hand, when you realize that you have created your own hell and no one else is to blame but you suffer immensely, horribly. There is no excuse. You cannot shift the responsibility onto anyone else. It is entirely yours. Suffering will be there, and it will intensify, for you will think, "I am so foolish. No one else is making me suffer. It's all because of my own thoughts. I've become increasingly outward, increasingly concerned with externalities, and that is why I suffer. I alone must bear the responsibility." This realization brings tremendous suffering, and conversely, if you follow the law, the Dharma, the way, if you adhere to your innermost core, to your true nature, you will find joy both here and elsewhere. The Buddha was not overly concerned with what lies elsewhere. He simply stated a fact. Do not worry about the next moment, the next life, or the next world. Make this moment one of joy, one of bliss, and the next moment will follow suit. The next life, the next world will follow. And everything that you are in this moment will deepen. When you realize that you are responsible for your own bliss, that no one has given it to you, that you are not a beggar and that it is not a gift from someone else, for no one can give it to you nor can anyone take it away, then you will be far happier. The harvest you reap in this world is immense, and even greater in the next. No matter how many sacred words you read, no matter how many profound statements you utter, what benefit will they bring you if you do not act upon them? The entire matter hinges on action. It isn't enough to merely entertain beautiful thoughts or harbor lofty desires about the divine, heaven, or moksha. It isn't solely a matter of contemplating meditation. It is about taking action, doing something concrete. Only action can be beneficial. You must become engaged. You must commit. Many come to me and say, "We love your teachings, but we do not want to meditate. We do not wish to become sannyasins. Isn't it enough to simply listen to your wonderful words? That is utterly futile. Just listening to my words is extremely foolish. If you do not act, do not waste your time. Such inaction is an exercise in futility. You may find my words pleasant, comforting, and even intellectually persuasive, and you might enjoy the atmosphere my presence creates, but by itself, that will bring you no benefit. Action is absolutely necessary. If you become convinced of a certain truth, then act upon it. Act immediately. Because the mind is remarkably cunning, and its greatest trick is procrastination. It whispers, "Tomorrow," yet tomorrow never comes. It says, "Yes, we shall meditate someday. First, let us understand what meditation is." And so, you might spend your whole life trying to understand meditation, never taking a single step to act. And until you act, nothing will change. No transformation will occur. Sannyas is a commitment. It is the positive expression of your love directed toward the teacher. It is your participation in my destiny. It is stepping into my boat. That, however, is dangerous. In fact, it is far safer than merely standing on the shore and listening. Otherwise, it becomes mere spiritual entertainment, killing time without purpose. This is exactly what so-called spiritual gatherings, satsangs, often amount to. People attend Sunday lectures, listen very attentively and solemnly, yet once they leave the temple, nothing changes in their lives. In reality, even the speaker is not truly affected by his own words. His job is to speak. He is paid for it. He is merely a specialist. And for the listeners, it becomes a ritual, an outward sign that they are religious, that they attend church every Sunday. It becomes a social gathering, a chance to meet people, chat, and gossip. It is a good opportunity socially in the name of religion, a form of communal club like the Rotary Club or Lions Club, but it changes nothing in their lives. I once lived next door to a very eloquent Catholic priest, a gifted speaker. One day he showed me his garden and we began talking about various matters. Then he said, "Can you help my child?" I replied, "What's wrong with your child?" He said, "He has begun to take my sermons too seriously. I must preach and speak of lofty things, but he listens and starts taking it all too literally. Now he doesn't want to get married, he wants to be a mystic. Can you help him?" I can help. That's my job. I help those who have become too mystical to return to being ordinary. "Listen," the priest said, "he takes my words too earnestly." Even a priest does not expect everyone to take his words so literally, and no one does, except a few fools. But when you are among a Buddha, a Jesus, a Krishna, or a Mohammed, the issue is not about taking their words too earnestly. The issue is perceiving the authenticity of their words and then acting upon that authenticity. If those words stir your heart, if a bell begins to toll in your soul, then do not hold back. Go forth, go deeper into that stirring, for that is the only way to be transformed. That is the only path to realizing the eternal, the eis dhammo sanantano. It is the sole means to know the eternal harmony of existence. And to know that eternal harmony is to know bliss, to know the divine, to transcend time, death, and suffering. Two women were chatting in a tea room at 4 o'clock after enjoying a large ice cream cone and some sugar cookies. They hadn't seen each other since high school, and one was proudly boasting about her remarkably fortunate marriage. "My husband bought me an entire new set of diamonds when mine got dirty," she exclaimed. "I never even bothered to clean them." "Wonderful," the other woman replied. "Yes," the first continued, "we get a new car every 2 months. No installment plans here. My husband buys them outright, and we give them as gifts to our black gardener and our butler." "Wonderful," the other chimed in again. "By the way, what are you up to these days?" the first woman asked. "I'm studying at a matchmaking school," the second replied. "A matchmaking school? How strange. What exactly do you learn there?" "Well, we learn to say wonderful instead of nonsense. You might start calling trivial chatter wonderful, but that changes nothing. You can study the junk of religion and spirituality. There are plenty of experts who speak in their so-called secret jargon. They discuss multiple dimensions, various realms, and numerous centers, and they speak so solemnly that it seems they truly understand what they're talking about. Steer clear of that esoteric rubbish. Avoid the mysticism that merely deceives people. If you care about such matters, you'd be better off reading the materials produced by those who advocate mystical theories. Whatever happens, you must speak as if it belongs to another world, a realm that can neither be proven nor refuted. Now, how can you possibly prove the number of dimensions? 7 or 13. Once, a man came to me. His religious sect believed in 14 dimensions, and he even brought a diagram. He claimed that Mahavira had reached the 5th dimension, the Buddha the 6th, Kabir and Nanak the 9th. Since he was Punjabi, he generously placed Nanak and Kabir higher. Yet his personal teacher, Radhaswami, had attained the 14th dimension. Even the Buddha seemed to hover only in the 6th. And Muhammad, do you know where Muhammad stands? Merely in the 3rd. How could a Hindu or a Punjabi allow Muhammad to exceed the 3rd dimension? He was kept firmly at that level. As for Jesus, he was given a slightly higher place, 4th dimension. He was placed in the 4th level. But his own guru, whom hardly anyone had heard of, had reached the 14th. The 14th dimension is called Sachkhand, the realm of truth. So I asked him, what about the other 13 dimensions? He replied, they merely approach truth incrementally, only approximately. Now, can there be such a thing as approximate truth? Either something is true or it isn't. Either I am here in this chair or I am not. I cannot be approximately in the chair. Thus, approximate truth is a beautiful name for a lie. He had come to inquire about my views on these dimensions. I said, I have reached the 15th. And just as you ask about these dimensions, your guru Radhaswami keeps pestering me about entering the 15th. He became very angry. I've never heard of the 15th dimension, he exclaimed. I replied, how could you have heard of it? Your guru has only reached the 14th, so you've only heard about the 14th. But I have reached the 15th. It's all meaningless, yet it can be presented in such an ostensibly mystical way. Stay away from it. The Buddha said, no matter how many sacred words you read, no matter how many profound statements you utter, what good will they do you if you do not act upon them? Faith still resides in the realm of words. It is deep, unwavering trust that propels you to action. Action, however, is risky. Speaking of the other shore is easy, but swimming to it is perilous, for no map exists. In truth, no one can be sure about the far shore, whether it exists or not. Ordinary, half-hearted faith is ineffective. Until you utterly trust in life, until you have complete confidence in your own inner voice, you cannot embark on the journey to uncharted seas. Only action proves that you trust, and only action can transform you. He is a shepherd. Whoever counts someone else's sheep has never walked the same path. The Buddha often repeated that there are fools who endlessly count other people's cattle. This one has 15 cows, that one has 13, while they themselves own not a single one. What good is it to count someone else's cows or sheep? It will neither sustain nor nourish you. It is an extreme waste of time. Yet this is what happens in the name of religion. The Vedas, for instance, lead people to squander entire lifetimes trying to decipher their meanings. Some even waste their lives attempting to determine the correct interpretation of the Bible. This is nothing more than counting someone else's sheep. You can turn inward and hear the Bible spring forth from within, just as Jesus heard it. Jesus held no special privilege over you. No one possesses any privilege at all. Before the eternal law, before Dharma, everyone is equal. In the external world, however, people are unequal, and they may never be equal. In this external realm, communism is an impossibility. But within, all people are equal. True communism, if you will, is an inner phenomenon. All the efforts to transform the external world into a communist society are futile. They cannot alter the very nature of things. In Soviet Russia, the old classes have vanished, replaced by new ones. First there were the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. Now there are the rulers, the ruling class, Communist Party members, and the ruled. It is the same game played under a different name. In the external world, communism is impossible. Inequality is the law. Everyone is unequal. Some are stronger, smarter, more attractive, more talented, even geniuses. People differ, and they cannot be forced into equality. Forcing equality would destroy humanity. Inequality will always persist. But within, as you turn inward, inequality begins to disappear. At the very core, there is absolute equality. Communism is an inner phenomenon. That is why I call my new spiritual community the commune. Communism derives from the very word commune. It signifies inner equality. Outwardly, everyone should be free to embrace their unique personality, their own flavor, their individual signature. But inwardly, the ego dissolves, individuality fades away, leaving only pure consciousness. And no two consciousnesses are superior or inferior to one another. There is no hierarchy. Stop counting other people's sheep. Go within. Stop endlessly reading scriptures. Go within. Stop endlessly listening to others' words. Share the path. If you encounter the Buddha, consider yourself fortunate. If you love the Buddha, you are blessed. Don't merely listen to his words. Walk the path. Share the path. Focus on where he points, not on his finger. Look at the moon. Read only a few words as he intends and speak even less, but act according to the law. Let me remind you once more, the word law in English is a mistranslation. It is meant to convey Dhamma, the eternal law, the cosmic law, the way. To act according to the law does not mean to follow the criminal law of India. It means to act in accordance with your inner nature. Abandon the old path of desire, hatred, and folly. Know truth and seek peace. Share the path. Abandon the old way. You must sever your ties with the past. You must live anew. You must simply cut yourself free from the past with one decisive stroke. And that is the essence of sannyas, to sever your attachment to the past in one swift strike. What is the old path? It is the path of desire, the path of hatred, the path of idiocy. Do not act out of anger, do not crave everything, do not cling to possessions, and do not fall into superstition or foolishness. If you can manage that, if you can take the leap into the unknown, since the past is well known and you are accustomed to doing things a certain way, when you cast off the past, you will feel disoriented for a few days, lost, unsure of what to do or how to proceed. You will find yourself in a void. That void must be crossed. It is painful. That is the price we must pay for truth. Once you have traversed that void, once you have come to know truth and find peace, truth will be recognized, and peace will follow it like a shadow. Share the path. The Buddha emphasizes this repeatedly, but this cannot happen simply by listening or by reading teachers' works. You must share the path. AE's Dhammo sanantano. That is enough for today.